Hello there, YouTube. It's Sydney Island here. That's Island with the Y, not an S, and I have been drawing. Yes, with just this pencil, I did these designs. Let's just zoom in a little bit because this is a draw with me. So in this video, I'm just going to be drawing and talking. So the topic of this video is the importance of having your own mind. Okay, so let's get right into that. So I feel that it's very important to have your own mind, specifically for the fact that there's people in this world who can be very controlling and very manipulative. And if you don't have your own mind, you can get just swept up in all types of bull that you don't really need to get swept up into. And by bull, I mean, there will be people who will try to make you do stuff that is against your morals and that's against your standards and it's just against your lifestyle and the way that you prefer to live life. And people will do stuff to try to get you to change your mind about things. And they'll literally be in the wrong, but then they'll try to convince you that you're in the wrong. This has happened to me many times in my life. Having people pretty much do the wrong thing and they screw up and they end up in a bad situation and then they blame it all on me and try to make me feel guilty for not doing what they wanted me to do and all types of stuff like that. And being a Taurus, I'm really not here for it. I have my own mind and I'm gonna do what I want to do, period. And there's really nothing you can do about that, so it's just no point in you trying to make me do something. I mean, as a Taurus, it's no point in trying to make a Taurus do something, because I'm not going to do it unless you are really, really convincing. And the only way you can really manipulate a Taurus is if they are a very naive young Taurus. Because back in the day, I was very naive. And when somebody would tell me, oh, you should do drugs, I'm like, should I? You know what I mean? Like I had this time where I had a friend who was convincing me that I should do shrooms, which, by the way, I never did. I've never done any drugs other than marijuana and drinking alcohol. I've never done any other drugs a day in my life. And thank God, because I actually was considering it. I was considering it. I was like, okay, he had some pretty enlightening experiences on DMT and LSD and shrooms and acid and all this. And, I was like, okay, considering it. And this happened when I went off to college, because this is the type of stuff that happens when you go off to college. Okay, so you got to be careful when you go off to college, because there's some people who will be pretty convincing and pretty persuasive about doing stuff that may not be in your best interest. Okay, so he was pretty convincing. I had a strong infatuation for this guy, so that only made me want to do it even more. So he was just like, you should do it. You should do it. You should do DMT. You should do shrooms. And you're going to have enlightening experiences. And it's going to be fun. And da-da-da-da-da. It'll help you to have ego death. And you're going to be a new person. And you're going to be less, you're going to be more fearless in life. And pretty much just telling me that I'm going to be a superhuman. I'm going to be a superhero after I do drugs. And I was like, okay, I was considering it. So I went into my dorm and I prayed to God. And I asked God, it was more than just going into my dorm. Like, let me try to remember. And so what really happened was I decided to fast, because I find that when I fast, I feel closer to God. So I decided to fast, and I was going to pray and meditate so that I can ask God, should I do drugs? So I was fasting. I didn't eat anything. And I was praying in my dorm, asking God if doing drugs, if doing shrooms, because it was shrooms in particular that I was thinking about doing, because he was most adamant about doing shrooms. So I was like, okay. So I prayed about it, and I was in my dorm just praying to God, if doing shrooms is going to be the best thing for me, then let me, just send me a sign. If it's going to be the bad thing for me, if it's going to ruin anything, if it's going to make me go crazy or anything like that, then just send me a sign to prevent me from doing it. So I went outside. It was a really pretty sunny day like today, and I was sitting in the grass meditating, just feeling good, because I was fasting, and I was wearing the color pink, which is a very lucky color for me. So it has a little significance once you just bear with me. So I was sitting in the grass, meditating in the sunlight, praying to God, just trying to get to a calm place so that the spirit can give me answers, And I was just praying, and I'm like, God, if this is the right thing, let me know. If this is a bad thing, let me know. Just send me a sign, send me a sign. And literally, I had been sitting there meditating for about an hour. And an hour later, I walked down. Okay, this is on my college campus. I walked down. I see 3 friends. One is a girl who was the friend of the guy who was trying to get me to do the drugs. And then these other 2 guys. And I didn't know the 2 guys, but they were her friends. And turns out that these 2 guys were old friends of the guy that I had just been hanging out with. Like, I didn't really know this guy very well. So I had only been hanging out with him for over a month, a little over a month. And here these 2 guys are. And this is supposed to be a draw with me, but I'm not even drawing because I got so into it. But here these 2 guys are. And for some reason, we got on the subject of shrooms, for some reason. And then all of a sudden, these 2 guys who knew him, who were no longer his friends, they said, you should not do shrooms with so-and-so. They said his name, like clear as daylight. And it was like, I had a moment of like, God answered my prayers. Like, that was crazy. Literally an hour later, after I prayed and prayed and prayed, God answered my prayer just like that. And they said blatantly, clear as daylight, you should not do shrooms with so-and-so, because they had negative experiences doing shrooms with him. And one guy said, this is not safe because he'll do stuff like he'll talk about stuff that you don't want to hear while you're high, and he'll scare you and stuff like that. And he just had a bad experience being high on acid with him. And it was just like, wow, God really had my back that day, because I was seriously considering it. And God was like, no, ma'am, this is not for you. And I'm just so thankful that God came through for me in that moment. It was just like, man, I never felt so blessed in that moment. And we had a whole conversation. Other stuff was said, and they started enlightening me on what a trash bag he was, pretty much. I had no idea because I was so infatuated with him. And they started enlightening me on some bad stuff that he'd done in the past, and just the person that he was, and how he had changed since they knew him. And he was trying to act like he was this spiritual guru, this person who knew everything. And, he didn't used to be like that. And tried to act like that he was just all in the clouds and like this angel who could do no wrong, pretty much like this spiritual saint. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to see some things. I'm glad that not only was my prayers answered about the drugs, but also I was getting information that I needed that I didn't even pray for. So I'm saying all this to say that I was very naive, and I didn't have my own mind. I did have my own mind, because I'm a Taurus. I'm always going to question things. I'm not just going to immediately be like, sure, I'll do shrooms. Like, I had to pray to God first. Like, let me talk to the Most High before I get high with these random people. You know what I'm saying? So that's how that went down. And I'm glad that everything happened the way it did. And I'm just realizing that, man, like, I just be feeling like there's just some type of divine being at play behind the scenes that a lot of us don't really know anything about. And I feel that like all the time. And I just feel like it's just really important to have your own mind. Like, because when you don't, people will just suck you into just their negativity and their bad habits. And some habits that people have, you don't want to have. You don't want to adopt this habit. Do not get involved with this. You do not need to get involved with this. So that's pretty much what God was saying. Just because this person seems like they're on cloud 9, and he really wasn't, by the way. It was all an act. He really was I found out later on that he was a hostile, like secretly hostile, angry, bitter, depressed person who tried to make himself seem like he had all the answers, and that he could never get angry, and that he was no longer depressed. And it was just all an act, just so that people can be his friend. He was insecure, and it was just a lot, man. This whole situation, I could do a whole story time on the whole 2 months of this crazy situation with this guy. I might in the future. If y'all are interested in hearing about that, just let me know in the comments down below, and I will definitely make a story time about it. I'm not quite ready yet, but maybe in a few months because I'm a lot more over it, because I was kind of traumatized by the whole situation. I'm a lot more over it than I was in the past. And just me being able to sit here and talk about it right now just shows so much growth. And I'm so proud of myself. But have your own mind, ladies and gentlemen. Think first before you do what somebody tells you to do. Think to yourself, is this normally what I would do? Should I really do this? Is this necessary to do? Or are they just trying to get over on me? Or are they just trying to manipulate me? You know, always have your own mind and think to yourself, does this person have my best interests in mind? Because that person did not have my best interests in mind. And that's really what it boils down to. If somebody really cares about you, they're not going to tell you to do something that could potentially mess up your life. You know, and like drugs, for some people, drugs works, and for other people, it doesn't. And that was a risk that he was going to take, and he was going to have me take. And it's just like, he knew that I had anxiety, you know, he knew that I had bad anxiety, you know, and I just felt that I would have went nuts because I have anxiety, and just doing drugs, I just would have went nuts. And this is supposed to be a draw with me, but it didn't happen that way. And so I'm just going to go ahead and end the video. I hope that you all enjoyed this. It's actually very therapeutic. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. So like, comment, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bye-bye.